Hi friends, we are back again and I welcome you all to this new class, and we are studying about the seasons that we experience in our country. We already covered about two seasons, that is about the cold weather season, the hot weather season, and today we are going to deal with advancing monsoon season. That is what we are going to see. Advancing monsoon season, or it is also called the rainy season. So that may be better. We are more familiar with rain, isn't it? So we can say the rainy season. Let us see about the rainy season that we experience in our country. How long is the duration, or when does it start, when does it end, and so on. You can take in your textbook, page number 33. So by early June, so we said the hot season ends from March to May. May it ends. So by early June, the low pressure condition over the northern plain intensifies. So we said there is a low pressure area is formed in the northern India, and so by June the low pressure becomes more severe. It becomes more low pressure. And so what happens? If there is a low pressure area, from a high pressure area, air will go to the low pressure area. So the low pressure in the northern India, it becomes more strong. And therefore what happens? It attracts the trade winds of the southern hemisphere. So India is in the northern hemisphere, and when in the northern India, when this low pressure is intensifying or becoming stronger, it is attracting the high pressure wind from the southern hemisphere. So the wind, as the air will start moving from the southern hemisphere to the northern hemisphere. Then these southeast trade winds originate over the warm subtropical areas of the southern ocean. So the winds that are starting from the southern hemisphere, they are formed in the ocean, and this is a tropical region, hot region. Therefore the ocean water is very hot, and therefore the air that is moving from there, the wind that is moving from there is carrying a lot of moisture, and so it will give a lot of rain. And so these winds, they will start from southern hemisphere, they will reach the equator, cross the equator, and blow in a southwesterly direction, entering the Indian peninsula. So understood? So they will come, we will see it in the map. You can see the map. So India is in the northern hemisphere, and high pressure wind is formed in the southern hemisphere, and that is the ocean. And there the air or the wind is moving from in a southwesterly direction, from the south to the west. It is moving in this direction, and then what happens? It is entering into Indian peninsula, and all these winds blow over warm oceans. They bring abundant moisture to the subcontinent. So as they are blowing from the warm ocean, the oceans are warm, and therefore this wind is blowing over the warm ocean. It is carrying a lot of moisture, and as these winds are strong and blow at an average velocity of 30 kilometers per hour. So the wind that is blowing from the south to the north, it is quite strong. The speed, the velocity is 30 kilometers per hour. So it is quite strong enough. And with the exception of extreme northwest, so the extreme north and the west. So these areas bordering Pakistan. So the place like Rajasthan and so on, that is in the extreme northwest side. So except that northwest, the monsoon winds cover the entire country in a month. So we said the winds are starting from the south the first week of June, and by the end of June almost all this part of India is covered. Monsoon rain is reaching all these parts except this Rajasthan area, the northwest region of India. They get monsoon rain little more late, but almost all the other parts of India they receive this monsoon rain within a month. And the inflow of the southwest monsoon into India brings about a total change in the weather. So before this rainy season, we know what weather we were going through. We were having hot season. So suddenly this rain comes, brings showers all over India, and then suddenly the weather of India is changed. So we can feel what a consolation it will be. You are all living in a cold place, therefore you may not know the sufferings of people who live in a hot region. So people who live in a hot region, for them it will be really a great relief that this rain is bringing to their life. So it is changing the climate in a very sudden way, and the people experience a lot of relief from this heat. And early in the season, the windward side of the western Ghats receives very heavy rainfall. So when the wind is blowing, it is reaching to the western Ghats, and that region receives very heavy rainfall. The western Ghats will receive very heavy rainfall. What could be the reason? Because the mountains are blocking this wind, and therefore a lot of rain will be there. Only some wind will pass to other side. A lot of winds are blocked by these western Ghats. Western Ghats are very high, we have already studied, and therefore they will block this wind, and that region receives a lot of rainfall. And how much rainfall are they receiving? They receive more than 250 centimeters of rain. So that's a very good amount of rain. They receive just 250 centimeters of rain. And the Deccan Plateau and parts of Madhya Pradesh also receive some amount of rain in spite of lying in the rain shadow area. So some other states like the Deccan Plateau and the Madhya Pradesh, they are in the other side of these western Ghats. So the rain is, the wind is blocked by this western Ghats, and this side of the Ghats receive a lot of rainfall. The other side of the western Ghats is Deccan Plateau and Madhya Pradesh. So they receive some amount of rain. They do not receive plenty of rain because these mountains are blocking and the rain is not reaching them. So in spite of this mountain, they still receive some amount of rain. So if these mountains were not there, the wind would have just passed through that side. But still they receive some sort of rain, some amount of rain. And the maximum rainfall in this season is received in the northeastern part of the country. So because from this monsoon wind, the part of India which receives the highest amount of rainfall is northeastern part of India. So northeastern part of India receives the highest rainfall from this monsoon rain. Then Mount Sindram in the southern ranges of the Khasi Hills receives the highest average rainfall in the world. You can underline that. So in the world, which is a place that receives the highest rainfall? Mount Sindram in Meghalaya, that is the South Khasi Hills. That is the place that receives the highest rainfall, Mount Sindram. So remember the name. That is the place which receives highest rainfall in the world. Then rainfall in Ganga Valley decreases from the east to west. So, as we reach the Ganga Valley, when we go from east to west, the rainfall is becoming less and less. That means east receives more rainfall, and as we go to the west, the rain becomes less and less. That is the situation in Ganga Plain. Then, thus it was wet and dry spells. And Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat get scanty rainfall. So we said the north and the western part of India, the monsoon rain reaches there very late. And so after 1 month only they receive the monsoon rain. And so they don't receive it for a long time. So they receive only for a short period of time. Therefore, the total amount of rain that they receive is very less. Gujarat and Rajasthan, they receive very little rain comparing to other parts of India. Then another phenomenon associated with the monsoon is a tendency to have breaks in the rainfall. You know what is break? In the school, when you have class, after 2 periods you have break, isn't it? After again you have lunch break. So break means a stop. So this monsoon also is like that. It is not going continuously non-stop. It will rain for a few days, then there will be a break. Few days no rain. Again after few days it will start rain. Then few days rest. So that is called the monsoon breaks. So we can also call it dry spells and wet spells. So when there is rain, we call it wet spell, and when there is no rain, we call it dry spell. So that is another speciality of the monsoon wind. You can underline. Another speciality of monsoon wind is it has got breaks. Thus it has wet and dry spells. And in other words, the monsoon rains take place only for a few days at a time. They are intervals with rainless intervals. So as I said, they do not rain continuously for all these days. Few days it will rain, then few days there will be dryness. Then again few days it will rain, again there will be dryness. So there is interspersed rainless intervals. Interspersed means with intervals. So there are some interval for this monsoon season. Those days it is not raining. Then these breaks in monsoon are related to the movement of monsoon trough. So why these days, few days are not raining? It is because of this monsoon trough. Trough means the path through which this wind is blowing. Then for various reasons, the trough and its axis keep on moving northward or southward. So this direction where the wind is blowing, either it is moving towards northward or sometimes it is moving towards south. And then it will determine the spatial distribution of rainfall. So it depends on in which direction the wind is moving. Is it moving towards north or is it moving towards the south? Accordingly, it will determine whether there will be rain or dryness. And when the axis of monsoon trough lie over the plains, rainfall is good in these parts. Suppose this is moving, the monsoon trough is moving and it is falling in the level area or plain area, then that plain area will receive a lot of rainfall. Then on the other hand, whenever the axis shifts closer to Himalayas, there are longer dry spells in the plains. So if it is moving towards the north and the wind is blowing along this Himalayan mountain, then there will be plenty of rain in the Himalayan side and there will be very dry spell in the plain. So where this wind is blowing, that region will have more rain, other place will have dryness. Then so whenever the axis shifts closer to the Himalayas, there are longer dry spells in the plains and widespread rain occur in the mountains catchment areas of the Himalayan rivers. So wherever the wind is blowing, that place will have very heavy rainfall. If it is blowing through the plain area, then plain area will have good rain. If the wind is blowing through the mountainside, then mountainside will have very heavy rain and the plain area will have lot of dryness. And these heavy rain bringing their way devastating floods causing damage to life and property in the plains. So when the wind is blowing through the mountainside, there will be heavy rain, and what will be the result? All the water will be coming down the plain. Even if there is no rain in the plain, all the river water, all the rain water, everything will be coming down to the plain, and it will cause flood there in the plain, and people will lose their property, some people will die, and so it is causing great damage, great destruction by the monsoon. So if it is raining heavily in the plain, that in the hills, that is what is happening in the plains. The water will come down and cause flood in the plains. And the frequency and the intensity of tropical depressions too determine the amount and duration of monsoon rain. So another element that is going to control or determine this monsoon rain is the frequency and the intensity of the tropical depression. So how far there is depression in the tropical region. So if the depression is prolonging, then the rain also may prolong. The depression is over very fast, then the rain also may be over fast. So it depends on the depression that is forming in the tropical regions. Then these depressions form at the head of the Bay of Bengal and cross over to the mainland. So first the depression is formed in the sea, Bay of Bengal. Afterwards that depression will come to the mainland also. Then the depressions follow the axis of the monsoon. So we said the monsoon has got an axis, the direction in which it is blowing, maybe through the plain or maybe through the mountain side and so. So this depression that is formed in this Bay of Bengal, that will enter into the land and follow the same path of the monsoon trough. So through which the monsoon wind is blowing, this depression wind also will move in the same direction. Then another thing about this monsoon is that this monsoon is known for its uncertainties. We cannot predict every year, or we cannot be sure that this rain is going to come exactly on this day. So sometimes it comes early, sometimes it comes late, and so on. So it is also known as an uncertain season, uncertain wind, monsoon winds. So the alternation of dry and wet spells vary in intensity, frequency and duration. So the alternation, that is the change of the wet spells and the dry spells, they vary in intensity and also frequency and duration. So we said there is a dry spell, there is a wet spell, and there is a break. So these dry spells and wet spells are always not of the same time or same duration. Sometimes the dry spell may be very short, maybe only 2-3 days, sometimes maybe 5-6 days, and the wet spells also sometimes very short and sometimes very long. So they are not same always. That's why we said it is very much uncertain. While it causes heavy floods on the one part of India, it may be responsible for droughts in the other. So, because of the heavy rainfall, it is causing flood in some parts of India, and some parts like Rajasthan and Gujarat, it is not reaching at all, or they are getting very little rain, and it is creating droughts there. So that is another problem. So the same wind is causing two types of damages. One place it is causing flood, another place it is causing drought, and it is often irregular in its arrival and its retreat. So every year it is not reaching in same time, and it is not returning back also in the same time. So every year it is following different schedule. Sometimes it comes in time, sometimes early, sometimes late, and so on. So it is, we cannot predict exactly on which date the monsoon wind will come, or which date monsoon will withdraw. Exactly we cannot say. Then because of that, sometimes it disturbs the farming schedule of millions of farmers all over the country. So as most of the Indian farmers, they are depending on this monsoon rain for their farming, for their cultivation. So they wait and wait for this monsoon rain, and the monsoon rain sometimes very late, sometimes it comes even 1 month late. So those farmers are struggling. Unless they get the rain, they cannot start their cultivation, because most of them do not have this irrigation facilities. Therefore they wait and wait for this rain, and finally it comes, and then it may return back or withdraw very soon. Then again the farmers don't have enough water for the growth of their products or their cultivation. So it is very much unreliable, we can say. It is not keeping the time, it is not reaching in time, and farmers who are depending on this rain, they are sometimes put into great struggle, and sometimes it is causing flood, sometimes it is causing drought, and so on. So that is the situation that we are facing from this monsoon rain. Yet in spite of all these problems, we still depend on this monsoon rain, because we have no other choice, we have no other option. This is the one thing that brings rain into our country. Therefore we have to depend on this monsoon rain. So we shall wind up for today. In the next class we shall study about the withdrawal of monsoon. That after entering into our country, the monsoon winds will be withdrawing. That is another season that we experience. So we shall study about it in the next class. So thank you for listening. Have a nice day.